am now on release candidate 8. I've had a bit of a break for 2 weeks because I've had the most dreadful cough and cold, and you can probably hear that my voice is still a bit scratchy. We've got some really interesting news in the notes for release candidate 7 and release candidate 6. Let's start with release candidate 6 to start with. I noticed a sentence in those notes saying that the developers have adjusted the surface ruin generation for balancing reasons and to better support large ruins. Woohoo! Now, I've been missing really large ruins since 1.19. I think a lot of the ruins underground are a lot more interesting, they're more fascinating, and they contain a lot of things that I think are useful early in the game. But what I have missed are the big ruins like the churches and the big arenas and things like that, ruins that you can take over and use as a base. Most of the ruins, apart from the ruined villages, seem quite small to me at the moment. But I think this gives a lot of hope that we might get some more larger ruins and maybe some very large ruins. So I think that's really good. This is one reason why I am not going to start another world with 120 until I know that I've got a stable release candidate. I think they're still working on the ruins, and I'm very excited to have the best ruins I can. So that was the main note from release candidate 6 I have taken. Now let's have a look at release candidate 7. If we press the H button, you will see that we've got some new storage vessels that can be purchased from the NPCs. And if we look at storage vessels, right, a lot of these beautiful ones we've got already, but if you come down, we've got new storage vessels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I obviously went to my traders to have a look at this and couldn't find them. So I went into creative, and I think you will like these new vessels. Let's have a look. I've got them lined up over here, and they look really quite fantastic. Look at this. Cloisonne, gorgeous. Cornflower, Talic, Colonnade, Cave Aurora, Rattlesnake, Waves, and Winter Sea. And you can actually see in the patterns that does look like ice in a winter sea. When we go to this one, you can see the waves. These look like rattlesnakes. Cave Aurora, that looks like the echoes in a cave. This one, Colonnade, you can see what looks like a colonnade. Talic, I'm not so sure about. Cornflower is so pretty, and Cloisonne. But the other thing I did notice is how gorgeous the lids are. Look at this. That's Cloisonne, Cornflower, Talic, Colonnade, Cave Aurora, Rattlesnake, Waves, and Winter Sea. Aren't they gorgeous? Now, whoever did those tops really ought to be able to make some tiles because they look fantastic. Let's go back inside. There's a lot of work that needs doing here. Let's go back inside. Here we are. Because it's getting a bit dark out here. So, as a starting point, we've got some wonderful new vessels, which I think is fantastic. Now, on the other notes, there's a nice little note saying that they have reduced too many of the 120 mob spawns during temporal storms. They're getting too many mobs. I must say that I'd thought there were too many mobs the first time I looked out of this window and saw it seething with bad creatures. But they have actually reduced that. I think they're just trying to get the balance of that spawning right. They've also added a bamboo shoot amulet. Now, interesting here, they've got a bamboo shoot amulet. Have we got it here? Ebony, birch, here we are. Yeah, this is the new one apparently. Isn't that pretty? Look at that, green bamboo shoots. Really nice. I've always liked these amulets, and I know that we've been able to make them for a long time, because for a long time I had an acorn amulet. What I find interesting is that one of the notes says almost all the seed necklaces, and by that I think they mean amulets, now craftable instead of being sold by the herbalist. What? What herbalist? We don't have a herbalist. Maybe we're going to have one soon. I love that idea. They've also said that they have added a straw bed and a fireplace to the Devastation Tower. Now, I had a look to see if I could find anything about a Devastation Tower. I haven't spelt that right. Here we are. Look at this. Devastation growth. Wow. Devastated soil. And look at this. Shards, briar, thorns. Ooh. Back. Devastation growth. And a devastation rock obtained by breaking on adjacent rocks. So there is obviously a devastation tower. I suspect this is part of the quest that we now are going to set up when we visit the Resonance Archives, where the archivist is going to give us clues that we then take back to the traders, and they will give us maps to the next building. Now, I have actually found one of those so far, but I haven't done that quest yet. I suspect again that they may still be working on that. I had a moment of hope when I read that marble top tables, they'd added some text to make it clear you needed a saw. I didn't even know we had that. Let's look at tables. Oh, table. And we have this wooden table, which is the one thing in this update I'm really not a fan of. And I had hoped we might get our old elegant table with the top. No such luck. You can put a marble top to the table if you use a saw, but it's not ideal. So I think what I'm going to have to do is to look for scribe tables in the ruins, or there is a ruin table. Where's the old ruin table? Yeah, this one. But again, unusable clutter. Can we use it as a table? There are tavern tables. Unusable clutter. Can we use it as a table? And I quite like this fine tavern table. Or there was one more. That we have a fine table. Again, it's supposed to be unusable clutter, but that looks a little bit better than the table I don't look. But look at this. Metal tables. Now we're talking. Look at that one. And this one I think looks particularly nice. That looks as if it's been crafted out of a lotus nest. So we do have a lot more tables. We've got drafting tables and things like that. Then we come on to tablets, of course. But I do think that we're getting different tables. This age table I will be looking for. This one I just don't like it. I think it's very ugly. But that's personal choice. My choice doesn't always match the devs. So, you know, that's fine. I can see myself having to go through ruins looking for tables, or to actually have to craft them. Not the end of the world. And when I say craft them, I mean chisel them. Right. We had a fascinating thing saying that Padu deer now give as much meat as regular deer. Wow. I didn't even know we had that many deer, and I have never in my life heard of Padu deer. And when I looked at this, I'm looking at whitetail, red brocket marsh. I mean, there are so many thousands of deer. We don't have pictures of them all. We have pictures of their antlers, and some are nicer than others. We have fallow deer in the UK, and we have red deer, which I don't think they have here. And we have some small ones that are called, what are they called? They're tiny deer, but we don't have those. So a lot of these deer we just don't have in the UK. And the deer that they're talking about are the Padu deer. Here we are, these little tiny things. Look at that. My goodness. Huh. Fascinating. I do crosswords a lot, and I find it much easier to do crosswords now I'm playing Vintage Story, because a lot of the things I've never heard of, like Padu deer and things, come up in Vintage Story, not to mention the metals. So the other thing is that the poor moose, and I don't know what moose count as. Are they some form of, moose, male? These poor moose, I've come across this. I have spawned 2 or 3 worlds when I've been looking for a decent new world, and having a look at some of the world generation. And I have to say, I've only come across 1 moose at a time, normally when it tramples me and kills me. But these moose apparently have been spawning just 1 at a time and are terribly lonely. So the devs have given them females who will now spawn with them. I do love it that we do take care that our moose are not lonely. Now, one thing I do want to point out to you is if we look at the storage vessels, and we look at the new ones, cloisonné, look at this, sold by artisan trader surgeon. We don't have a surgeon at the moment, the same as we don't have a herbalist. So I have looked up surgeon. Look what I found. Now, we've had this Barber Surgeon mask for some time, but we now have Barber Surgeon shoes, Barber Surgeon hand wraps, Barber Surgeon mask with hood, Barber Surgeon pants, Barber Surgeon mantle, and then we have the Barber Surgeon shirt, and most chilling of all, the Barber Surgeon apron. It's even got blood on it. Oh my goodness. This suggests to me that we've got a whole person here, because we've got the outfit, and if they're saying that you can buy the storage vessels from a surgeon, it indicates that we might get a new trader, a surgeon, or we might find a surgeon in one of the ruins, maybe on the quest we go on from the Resonance Archive. Now, I don't know, a lot of you who play this game are very, very familiar with history, but you will know that barbers used to be the surgeons. They used to be people who would cut off arms and legs and things like that. So a barber surgeon is a pretty terrifying thought. Very, very primitive type of surgeon. I did look up herbs and herbalist, and you can tell I'm English because I put the H, herb, whereas Americans, I think, do not. They will just put herb as the word, so we have a slight difference in pronunciation. But there is nothing here. I'm getting her from leather, So I'm not really getting anything to do with herbs. However, if we switch to morning, and let's just do that. Switch it to morning. Yes, let's go and have a look. And we do in creative have herbs. I have spawned the storage vessels from creative, and I went into creative to see whether we had herbs. Now, I think we've had these herbs for a long time. We've got basil, chamomile, cilantro, and I would call cilantro coriander. We've got lavender, marjoram, mint, sage, saffron, and thyme. And they are, as they are in real life, some of the prettiest plants you can imagine. I have rosemary in my garden, and I have to say it is such a pretty plant. I don't think they've got rosemary here. Mint, marjoram, lavender. I have lavender as well. Saffron, sage, and thyme. Yeah, I have to grow basil inside. It's too cold in the UK to grow it outside. I grow chamomile. I can't grow coriander, it's too cold. I have masses of mint. I do have marjoram. I have lavender. I don't have saffron. Or I have sage. Yeah, I have sage and thyme. So I've got a lot of these herbs in my garden. They are such pretty plants. So I'm very much hoping that, because there was a bit of a giveaway in the notes saying that the craftable necklaces, for which I take it to mean amulets, can now be crafted rather than only being purchased from a herbalist. I think that, and the clue about the surgeons, means we're going to get 2 new people. Now again, will we get a trader who's a herbalist, or will they inhabit a ruin or something like that? It's a fascinating idea as to which way they will go on this. I'm hoping for these herbs as soon as possible. I know that we will get the pots. They are in the H handbook already, so I know we're getting the pots. That's great. What I don't know is whether we will get herbs in 120, although the fact that they are already talking about a herbalist, I think is very positive. So, isn't that fantastic? It looks as if we are going to have some very, very interesting things. So I am hoping that the clues I'm picking up in the notes mean that we will get some bigger ruins on the surface. I'm hoping that we will get interesting things like a surgeon and a herbalist. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what we're going to find as we follow this trail that's going to start in the Residence Archive and work through different buildings and different parts of the map. So I think that from the point of view of just enjoyment of the game, this is amazing. The other thing I do think is I'm not sure whether this is a game update or it's so huge, it's almost like a separate game. This is one of the biggest updates I have ever seen in this game, and it is vast. I think the devs are doing an amazing job in putting all this together for us, and it's going to be fantastic. It will be like playing a different game from the beginning. I'm going to spawn a new world. I'm going to play it from the beginning. It will be a slow start, but I think that the only way in which I will truly get to grips with the 120 update is to spawn a world in it and to then play it from the beginning upwards. and see how many different things we come across. So I hope you've enjoyed that little update. If you have, leave a like, maybe subscribe, and thank you to all my regular viewers for all your support and comments. Much appreciated. Goodbye, my friends.